Hello, welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London, and you can find me at Skeindeer on Ravelry and Instagram. Plus there is the Ravelry group, Skeindeer Knits, where you are more than welcome to join, and there are some wonderful KALs going on there. I will talk about that in just a bit. I just want to point out the fact that I am back in London. I have been in Norway for about 20 something days. I was supposed to return on a Monday, but as we were about to leave the flat, me and my boyfriend and my mum, I get a text from Norwegian air company, air flights, air something, that our plane had been cancelled, apparently due to some issues at Gatwick. Turns out that was apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the flight that our fellow podcaster Amy of Strand Knitting was going to take to where she was going, so that must have been a bit scary. So anyway, there was a plane that had a tire puncturing, so they were closing down the entire runway, and so no plane could land on Monday, and apparently all the planes on Tuesday were fully booked. They were sold out, so we couldn't leave until Wednesday. So I arrived quite later on Wednesday, so I feel like I've lost an entire week. So it is the Monday following that, so I should have been here for a week, but I haven't. But I figured I have to record now, because if I don't, then there will be a lot of stuff to catch up on when I am back into my usual schedule, which is a Thursday upload. God knows when this episode is going to come up, but regardless, thank you so much for watching, and welcome if you're a new viewer. I don't usually stop the podcast with this much babbling, but I have now. And welcome back if you are a returning viewer. That's nice that you keep coming back. I appreciate that. And now I sip up my coffee now. So yes, this episode is full of a lot of very interesting and exciting, if I may say so myself, announcements. But before that, I just want to cover the usual administrative, which is the knit-alongs that are going on right now. So just to sum those up, we are doing the Colour Your World Socks KAL, which I have now decided I will be wrapping up soon. So I think at the end of August, so probably September 1st, I will be clearer about that in the Ravelry group. I think we should wrap up this KAL. It's been going on for a long time and I have greatly enjoyed it, but as summer is ending, it's time for us to take on some slightly larger projects. And one of those large projects that is already going on in another knit-along is the Flea KAL, or Loppa KAL if you will. It is a cardigan designed by Pinagudi, who sometimes goes as the Needle Lady in English, and it is a KAL co-hosted by me and Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast and Wool and Ryan Yarn. So there isn't any ending date for that knit along as of yet, so just hop along. There's probably lots of time for you to finish still, even if you haven't started, because we're just being very casual about this, because we just so happen to be knitting the same cardigan roughly at the same time, although I cast it on in relation to this knit along, because this knit along is for just kicking me in the butt to start knitting this cardigan that I've been lusting after ever since it was published, which is a few years ago. I want to say 1 or 2 years, maybe 3. So yes, I'll be talking about that cardigan once we start covering the works in progress of this episode. I just thought I'd let you know about knit-alongs that are going on, and this is one that you should totally hop on because it's awesome, and I am amazed at how quickly this cardigan is flying off the needles. That's all I'm gonna say for now. And there is a future knit-along going on, and I have now decided it will start on September 1st, and that is the Marius KAL. And if you don't know what the Marius is, well, you're looking at it. This is the Marius pattern, which I just so happen to have on a coffee mug, and I also have it on, wait for it, these thermal mugs that I finally managed to get from Norway. I've had them for ages, but you know, every time I go to Norway I just want to bring back more stuff, which is probably why I've been so knackered this week, because we were carrying, and I say we because my boyfriend took the biggest load, a lot of my things from Gatwick Airport to where I live in London, so that was heavy, but I got mugs now. Oh, there's more. I was going to show you this at the end of the episode, but apparently we're just kind of throwing everything out the window now because we're talking about the Marius, so why not talk about this now? I got my cake tin, and here's the best part. Within the cake tin, there's another cake tin. So apparently this is a very loud cake tin. I have decided that this could perhaps, maybe, we'll see, depending on the size that I need, be my box of socks box. Box of socks. Box, yes. Box of socks, KAL box. Yes, that sounds right. So The only problem with that is that it's going to be Christmas at that time when that KAL wraps up. That's a KAL hosted by Kristen, as it just so happens. We knit 12 pairs of socks a year, and I'm going to try that, even though I only made 3 pairs so far. The only problem with that is that I'm going to use this for Christmas cookies. So how is that going to work? I'll have other tins. We'll figure it out. I mean, I'm not going to use both boxes for my sockses, so there you go. And I have to show you this other thing I picked up at the airport in Bergen when I landed between my flights. It's a deck of cards with the Marius pattern. And this is even better, look at that. Look at that. He's got a Marius sweater and a hat and mittens on. The king of Marius is King Marius or something. Gosh, it got very dark. So yes, that's the Marius knit along, you guys. It is starting on September 1st. Well, that's a lot of waffles to get to that point. So just to clarify a few things that I have clarified a number of times already, it is a KAL. That has not been much of a mystery, but the KAL is only for Marius garments for adults. So we're talking sweater, cardigan, possibly a vest, hoodie, you know, that kind of thing. Has to be quite big and adult sized. So I mean if your teen is quite big, then I'll approve that. You get the idea, you know. No baby outfits, no pot holders or socks this time. We're gonna go big. So if you want to do the classic Marius, there is a one pattern for that. It is a sweater that recommends you using sunless Cardigan, but you can totally use like Cascade or I don't know, Wool of the Andes. I don't know. There are other like worsted to DK woolly wools yarns out there, but the important thing is that this has to be on the garment, this particular pattern. I don't care what colors you use, go crazy, just go nuts by all means, but you have to be aware what is and is not a Marius. So I have been giving a lot of like people going, oh, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna make this, and I'm like, it's not a Marius. It may look like a Marius to you, but really the only thing that goes, wait for it, is this particular chart. So you can see a close up here. This is exactly what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like on the chart. I wish I could just post the chart in the group on Ravelry so there could be no doubt. It's an 18 stitch repeat and a bunch of rows. I don't know. I just can't, you know, legally. I can show you this cake tin as much as I like and everything that I've knitted, but I'm not allowed to actually share the chart because that is copyrighted by Sunless. And that's a pretty good guide to know whether it's a genuine Marius or not if you're for some reason unable to recognize it, which is fine. I mean, I'm born and bred Norwegian into all the Marius stuff, so I couldn't mistake it for one pattern or the other. But if you struggle with that, then Sunless are the only ones who are legally allowed to share the Marius pattern, so if it's by them, it's legit. Sounds good? Okay, good. So I just realized I have some garments, so I can just show up them to avoid confusion. This is a legit Marius. It's got different colours, but it's totally the Marius still. You can still see it's the same chart as the cake tin, as my pillow and my mug and everything. Still full on Marius. It's a sunless garment pattern. I think this might be one of the garments I will be making for the KAL. I really did plan to keep the KAL open for so long that I can make 2 garments, or maybe even 3. I'm gonna make the classic jumper, classic Marius jumper. That recommends Peer Gynt, and Peer Gynt is a wonderful yarn. I highly recommend it. But I'm going to use Embla by Hillesvåg because I love Hillesvåg and I have a bunch that I got on sale. So I'll be doing that. But I also think I might be doing this fingering weight cardigan again. Just because I really like that pattern and I might modify a bit to fit me a bit more, you know, cropped, short row back. Like that, and here's an example of something that is not the Marius. So this is one of those patterns that people often mistake for the Marius. It is actually the Status Star cardigan, which is the precursor to the Marius. The Marius is based on this, but this is however not a copyrighted pattern, which is why you're more likely to actually find this pattern and also find it for free, possibly in English, but not a Marius, will not be eligible. Sorry, it's a great pattern though, I love it. So hopefully that cleared up a few things. The other thing I want to make absolutely clear is that there are multiple Marius patterns within the Sunless database of patterns, so to speak. So you can make a fingering weight, you can make a DK worsted weight, you can make sport weight, you can make chunky. The tricky thing is that Norway doesn't really use the yarn weight system that is being used on Ravelry and internationally, so that is a bit of a pickle. But so in terms of substituting yarns, but it should be fine because people do make attempts to write up the weights for Norwegian yarns on Ravelry, so it should be fine. But yeah, the chunky weight Marius is a really quick one. I did that when I'd started up this podcast for a friend of mine, so I used fritidsgarn, which is a very thick yarn, so you can totally do that. You can make the classic Marius, which is more of a worsted weight to DK weight, which is what I'm planning to do. I would say it's got about a 22 stitch gauge, but I could be wrong on that. And there is the cardigan that I just held up, the grey one, which I think had a 27 stitch gauge, which is made in, I guess what you would say is a sport weight or a fingering weight. So there's a wide array of patterns for the Marius that Sandnes has, and I made a bundle on Ravelry for eligible patterns, so head over there and have a look. And the other thing I want to say is that you can use whichever, you know, pattern you want really. I only care that that chart is there, that 18 stitch repeat. Whatever colors you use, whatever garment you put it on, if you want to be really creative, that's fine. If you have a kind of a default kind of yoke recipe that you use for yourself every time you make a sweater, that's fine. If you want to put it on a raglan, I mean, go ahead. It is quite open. I just want to be very clear that it has to be a Marius. So that's all I want to say about that KAL. It's going to start on September 1st. And, well, I have one more thing before I actually get into some knitting that people are not doing the KAL might be interested in. I was offered a discount code earlier this year, and I said let's hold on to that until we're close to the KAL. I have not been in touch with these people since, so I have to do that until I can tell you about this discount code, but it is highly relevant. It's good for those of you who live in, you know, this part of the world, certainly, but I think internationally as well, pretty sure. So yeah, definitely, actually, come to think of it. So I just want you to, if you can, hold off until next week and I'll tell you about said discount code if it happens. If not, I'm just probably not gonna mention it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get that sorted out within a week. And the last big, important, fancy, awesome announcement for this week is that which you may have heard already because some people have already spoken about this, but I'm the last person to tell you that I will be teaching at a knitting retreat in Rhodes. And if you don't know, Rhodes is a fantastic island in Greece, and I say it's fantastic because it's near Turkey and I love Turkish food, so I'm just hoping for the best here. So this is a knitting retreat that John of Bare Detail podcast is hosting, and John is an awesome knitter and podcaster who I met briefly in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and we have since been in the sort of same virtual knit night group online and on, yeah, a kind of texting group, WhatsApp I guess, as well. So he's just been talking about this retreat and I was kind of like, yeah, that's good for people who actually have a steady salary, but I'm a student, so you guys go ahead and have fun. And he was talking about the teachers he was going to have. You know, he's going to teach them, I think, shawl design, I'm not sure, and Nathan of the Submortician podcast is going to be teaching his usual double knitting stuff, I think. And I didn't know that he was looking for more teachers, but I was like, I can teach them Norwegian knitting if you like. I mean, I teach knitting in London, so apparently there was the spare place. So I'm going to be teaching Norwegian knitting in Rhodes in the summer. So that's going to be at the end of May, early June next year. Tickets have just been put out there into the wild, so you can still get some. By the time I'm recording this episode, you certainly can. And I am so excited. I'm going to be bringing my significant other along, and we're just going to have a holiday and I will get to teach knitting and hang out with knitters. Also people I already know, some other podcasters. It's fabulous, if I may say so. So yeah, I am excited, and I have so many good things, because even though I didn't think I was actually going to take part in this, I have been listening to John talking about this retreat quite a bit, just because, you know, I've been there listening from the very early stages when he was in Rhodes on holiday, thinking, oh, this would be a great place for a retreat. And he's now actually, you know, putting it out there, and he's got a hotel for us, and he put up this review video for the hotel where a lot of regular guests have been interviewed, and they're talking about why they are regular guests there, why they think that hotel is so great. And it sounds like just such a safe and relaxing place. It sounds quite unique to Rose actually, because it's quite the tourist island, and that's not usually my cup of tea, but I am really, really excited about this. It sounds so pleasant, quite the unusual holiday place for what it is, and I think, oh, it's gonna be so cool. So yeah, and I'm a bit nervous as well because I don't know where I'm going to be in terms of my degree next year. If I'm up to speed with things, I'm going to be in write-up for my PhD, and that doesn't usually mean you have time for anything, but it really means that you should. So I think I should already now plan this 1 week break from writing, and it's going to be so good, and I'm just going to be needing that at that time, so that makes me very happy. So that's all for the administrative stuff, and we are like, oh god, so far into this episode already. I don't know how I'm gonna have time to talk about all the stuff that I have to share with you this episode. So let's just get started. So I did talk about the Flea cardigan at the beginning of this episode, and I'm of course making my own, as was the kind of motivation behind the knit along in the first place. And I'm so happy to see you guys knitting as well in the group. It's so cool, and I am trying to be active there, but you guys are just so freaking active in that group. I'm having a hard time catching up, and it's just such a pleasure to read through. And having people help each other out with really thoughtful, accurate advice, it's amazing. I'm really impressed. But anyway, my cardigan is just flying off the needles. Like I said, it's such a quick knit, which is amazing because I have a certain needle size I tend to go for in my colorwork garments, and this is just slightly above that, just slightly bigger, and it's making a world of a difference. So this thing that was just a yoke with a sleeve and body divide last episode is this whole thing. So the body is actually a lot deeper than you can tell. It's going all the way down here. Well, when does this happen? I must have been sleeping while I was knitting this, because I don't know when this happened. And this sleeve is already on its way. I just made the sleeve, I think, knitting kind of meet up a morning on Saturday. Look how it's just flying off. It's insane. Sleeves are usually quite slow. And the other sleeve as well, I made primarily at the knit night, and then some when I got back home. It's insane. And I think part of that is obviously the needle size, but also the flea pattern. So as I explained before, this is called a lice pattern. So if you make it bottom up, which traditionally Norwegian garments are, these little dots are called lice. If you make it top down, the stitches, the V's, they're upside down, and so then they're called fleas. So that's why this is the flea cardigan, and the fleas, the, if you will, the V's, the little dots here, they kind of have the same effect as when you're knitting self-striping or otherwise striping socks or garments, is that you just want to get to the next one, and they're only every 4th row. So you'll just have like 3 stockinette rows before you do another colorwork row, which is technically also stockinette, but you know what I mean. So you just get addicted, and you just want to get to the next and the next and the next. And then also, the way I'm doing it is, I think every 10th row I'm decreasing, which is just in accordance with the centimeters that I've been given in the pattern. So I just want to get to the next and the next, and you know, and I get fewer stitches every time as well. So, but yeah, it's just amazing, because and I'm a bit worried if it's going to be enough, but I think so, because I'm cropping this thing using 3 50-gram skeins of this grey. 3. And I have 2 50-gram skeins of the main contrast colour, this Elderberry by Holst Supersoft. And the grey, I think, is Flannel Grey by Holst Supersoft. Is this thing that I've stuffed into the sleeve here. So that's just insane that that's enough for a garment, and it's just not going to weigh anything. So if you assume that you're going to use all of those 5 skeins, well, that's 5 times 50 grams, and I'm obviously using a little bit more for the yoke because there are multiple colors there. That's not a lot. This thing is not going to weigh anything. I can just carry this with me everywhere and probably wear it all the time, and people are going to think, isn't she a bit sweaty soon because it's going to be smelly? You know what I mean. It's fine, because thing about wool is that it's body odor resistant. And this is something I'm noticing the more I knit and the more I have knitwear, is that actually they don't stink up my clothes the way acrylic garments do. This is an acrylic sweater, and by the end of the day I don't want to see it anymore, you know, it's no. But woolly garments, you guys, it's amazing. You just air them out a little bit and they're fine. I do still wash them. I'm actually not that scared of putting non-superwash garments in the washer. which is probably what I'm going to do with this as well, because right now it doesn't look very nice. It is covered in spinning oil, so it actually looks a bit linen-y, and I've talked about this in early episodes, so for some of you, you just have to listen to me talk about this again. When you wash up this yarn, it will bloom and be so soft and just filling all the gaps that you get from knitting at such a big gauge, and just be the best thing ever. But it needs a good wash for you to do that, and if you can trust in your washer to not felt your knitting at, I would say, 30 degrees, a very gentle cycle, then go ahead. And otherwise, hand wash it with a nice wool wash, and you'll get this amazingness. Post washing. This is not post washing. I just like holding it up because I'm very happy with what I'm making so far, and I'm super happy with the color choices, which I struggle with a lot, as you might remember. And I am happy where it landed because it's got a bit of pink, but it's not too pink. It's primarily purple and grey, which is what I like, as you know. The hints of blue also breaks it up a little bit, and yeah, it is pretty much exactly what I had in mind. So pretty happy about that, and it is just flying off the needles, but a bit worried it could end up the same place where my Miss Rachel's yoke is, which is in some knitting bag waiting for me to just finish it, because it's just so close to being done, and I thought I was finishing it either in May or before May, and that hasn't happened. Don't know why. I'm gonna try. And of course, this garment, designed by Pinneguri, lives in the bag, sewn by Pinneguri, as you do. I bought this from her web shop, and it did actually ship to London, so that's good news if you also want one of her amazingly crafted, sewn, perfect bags. I don't know if the website comes in English, probably not, but it certainly does ship internationally, which is great, and it's not that hard to figure out. I say that because I managed to order from German sites a lot, and I don't speak a word of German. I might actually speak one word of German or two or three, but I don't know German. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, just forgot that if you want one of these bags. Another project that I showed you last time I put up an episode. I don't want to say last week because I don't know what schedule I'm on anymore. Anyway, it is the Bonbon Mitts by Joji Locatelli that was in the latest Pom-Pom magazine. I don't know, I just never thought I would make any of her designs. Not because I don't like them, just because I like other things more, I guess. But they're on the front cover of one of the two covers of the latest Pom-Pom, and after I'd made the hoopla hat, which is amazing and I love it, and you can see pictures of that on Instagram, and I'm just so happy with it. I thought, okay, let's really go outside the comfort zone. Like, making that hat was not, it's exactly up my alley, so let's do something else. And I am doing these mitts on a cashmere merino yarn by Lana Grossa. It's called Pashmino. I don't know why I had such a hard time remembering that last time, but here you go. And it's made in a twisted rib, a twisted knit and twisted purl, and it takes me ages. Like, I think I spent less time on that Flea cardigan than I have done on these mitts. I don't know what it is about twisted rib that really just slows me down so much. But it's starting to be a bit more interesting now, because I'm not just doing the cuff anymore. I'm actually making this little lace-y thing happening on the back of the hand, and also this kind of thumb increase at the palm, which I'm also kind of decreasing here. So it's actually, the increase is happening at the back of the hand. It's really interesting. So I'm enjoying that, and you can see a pattern appearing. Although I'm worried that they look different on the two hands, so I may have done something wrong there in the lace. Oopsie. But they both look nice, and yeah. So they've had a little bit of a break since I got back to London. I hope I will pick them up again. I don't want these to become a UFO, because this is one of the few things that I make that I can see myself wearing on a day-to-day basis. I wish I would make them more things like that, but I have a way of just making stuff that I'm like, that looks fun to make, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm not actually always wearing them so much. That's why I have maybe 20 pairs of mittens. That's that. And yeah, I just have lovely things to say about this yarn. It's a cashmere merino, but it doesn't seem to have a lot of sort of pilling fluffing potential as of yet. It's, you know, there's no halo here, and it's been through quite the rough treatment. It's not focusing, so you can't really tell. Oh, there we are. So as far as cashmere merino yarns go, wow, take back a lot of things I've said about that before. This is certainly a very nice yarn, and I want to thank Marius so much for giving me this yarn. I was super generous, and I found a project for it immediately, and it lives in this owl bag made by someone who I can't remember, but oh well. I bought it at in Wales at the wool festival there. I forgot the name of it. Oh dear. Oh dear, my brain is dead. Anyway, let's move on to another work in progress, shall we? So, as you will have seen on Instagram, I bought a big pile of yarn. I bought 8 skeins of PT2. PT2 is pretty much the equivalent of fenil yarn. It's just 10 meters shorter. It's also by Rauma, although originally PT was its own thing, I think. But yeah, pretty close to one another, and so I wanted 8 skeins because then I could make 2 pairs of the Mr. Knit Along that Tweed Seista, also known as Tweed, is hosting right now. And there's only one queue left, and that is the thumb. And I have made the mittens, so I thought I'd go outside my comfort zone. I was very tempted to just go for shades of red and greys and just do that, but then I was like, no, let's look at some other skeins. You know, you've got plenty of reds and greys in here if you want to make another pair. So I went with these. Yeah, it's pretty different from my usual color scheme. Now, don't look too closely at these because they're not blocked yet, okay? They're just a bit weird, but they'll be fine ones. I feel like what I made before I discovered blocking actually looked nicer before blocking. I don't know, have I gotten more sloppy since I discovered blocking? I hope not. But this pattern is a bit trickier to get even. Like you can see, it's quite even here where the floats are shorter, but up here you get a slightly different thingy. So yeah, this is what I love the crowns of these. That I could do mittens just in that pattern, to be honest. They look really nice. Now, I messed up a little bit with the thumb holes. I didn't realise until much later. This one's fine. This one, however, was here, and I done all up to here before I realized. So I was like, am I gonna knit this again? No. So I stitched together the hole here. You can't really tell, but if I show you the inside, it has this little seam here, which is the kind of backwards loop cast on that I did for the top of the mitten hole, the thumb hole. So it is a bit thicker here, but it's fine, and you can't really tell from the outside. I thought originally that I'd rip out the backwards loop cast on because it doesn't really serve any purpose now, but it doesn't seem to bother me either, and it's a nice security just in case I messed up. So just keeping it in there, you can't tell, it's fine. And then I took a scrap yarn, blue yarn. That was the one I stitched together the whole here, and I continued that here and kind of loop the yarn over this knitting needle whilst also knitting it in, or kind of half kitchen stitching it in the stitches here, so that I could then rip out the strand of yarn. I was connecting this row with this pink row here. So does that make sense? Let me do that again. So yeah, I put this yarn over a knitting needle into the next row here, so that I could rip out the yarn I was connecting that row with this, oh, it's green row here. Yeah, and then I put it all on the same scrap yarn. This was already on the scrap yarn, so I just had to put it through the above stitches, and now we got the hole on the right side, and I didn't have to re-knit everything. So yeah, totally MacGyvering this mitten, but it's nice. I don't know what to do with it. I make so many mittens and I really only use one pair, so I don't know what to do with the rest of them. Christmas presents, anyone? So, but as you will remember, I wasn't just making this pair. Oh no, I was making another pair. The clown bar version, or the neon version, whatever name you find most appealing. Shall I show you? Yeah? This happened. I'm not too keen on the blue and yellow because it's like the Swedish, the IKEA factor is very high there, which I don't mind. It's just kind of, you get these associations, but it's nice. I think they're really cool, interesting, certainly different from what I normally do. I'm trying to think of a good person to give these to that would wear something as nuts as these. I don't know. I really like the crown here as well. There's actually some color combinations I wish would have appeared more in the mittens, like the blue and the green and the red and the blue. oh well, oh well. So happy with these as well. I did the holes on the right side. I think this is when I realized, when I got the thumb hole here, I was like, that's not the same. So well, so we're only lacking the thumbs on either pair, and then I'll have 2 pairs of mittens, and they came out of no time and nowhere. It's just, that's why I love mystery knit alongs for mittens. You just suddenly have mittens and you don't even know, like, when did I make these? You just get a little bit of the pattern every so often, you know, you just do a little bit, and then, which is, you know, an important lesson for how to pace ourselves in our knitting lives in general, maybe. So okay, holding up these one last time before we see them next week, hopefully with thumbs and blocked. Okay, bye bye. Now just a quick question between segments here, in case I'm doing segments. Some of you will remember that I bought a royal winder, which I love. It is great, it is nice and a lot more quiet than my previous winder, so it's so cool. I have one little problem with it. There might be a solution here that I have tried and it might work, but I still want to ask, do you have problems with the skein just popping up mid winding? This never happened with my dirt cheap winder that I had prior to this, that I unfortunately gave away. I still love this winder, so I don't regret it that much, just a little bit. The skein just pops up here. First I thought it was because I was using an Aran weight yarn, so I thought, oh, maybe that's an issue, but no, it's happening with every weight, and the lightest weight even of that I have. So what can I do to prevent that? I have been advised by a friend of mine to kind of wind them a bit tightly at first, and then you can kind of go slowly. My problem is that I just wind really quick, and that's when they hop off. So if I just calm down and don't do it that fast, it's usually okay. And maybe I should just calm down. Maybe that's the lesson here. There's a lesson to everything apparently in my life. So yeah, I just wanted to ask that. If you have the royal winder, any experience with that as well? Any advice? Any way you worked around that? Just, yeah, because otherwise I like this winder. I don't want to hate it for that particularly little trivial thing, but it's not that trivial when it's entire thing hops off and you can't wind anymore. You have to start winding again, and then it happens again, and then there you are. So I'm just gonna put this away now. Now the rest of this episode, it's just a haul, because I got quite a bit of yarn in my big break. Again, thank you so much for your patience and kindness during that break. It was much appreciated. But yes, during that break I may have had a little bit of yarn therapy, and I also had some really generous people giving me yarn, and I've never gotten around to talk about that yarn until now. Now I will, and I'll try to remember what I got from which person, which I think I have pretty clearly, because I do kind of, you know, appreciate the yarn so much. I try to, you know, remember the people, the kind words they said, the meeting them if I did. Just, yeah, and I don't really receive yarn that much. It's very unfortunate in a way that I received it during this time where I wasn't able to kind of thank you publicly on this podcast, but at the same time it was the best time for getting all that generosity at once, because I needed it. It was amazing timing for where I was in my life, so thank you for that. I just, yeah, I don't usually receive, you know, just free stuff. So that was just incredible to kind of be bombarded by that within such short space of time. So let's just get started on the yarn. And I'll also talk about the yarn that I got in Norway that I haven't been able to show you yet. And I'll just briefly cover what I covered in the last episode, just to give you a sense of the amount that I have acquired since that huge stash episode that I made. How did I just grow my stash even more? So much more. That's the background of this episode. First thing I did, I think, was doing some yarn shopping myself, where I got... So do you know about Garnudsalg? It's a Danish site where they sell a lot of yarn incredibly cheap, and this was on sale. I actually got this cone, which is a similar, I think it's the exact same yarn actually, to Holst Supersoft, except this is by Garnudsalg. I think they're both from JC Rennie, to be honest, because it actually says in this cone JC Rennie and Co. So I think JC Rennie's behind all that yarn, both from Holst and Garnudsalg, and a couple of others that have basically the same kind of yarn, just a kind of a fine lamb's wool, Highland wool, just to give you an idea. It's very fine, but it blooms as soon as you wash out the spinning oil. So I think this yarn I will kind of temporarily give to a friend of mine who has a knitting machine, and we have agreed that she can make me a garment out of this and I will knit her a pair of Fibre mittens. It's a pretty sweet deal if you ask me. So that's why I have this amount of burgundy yarn, which is the best colour ever. It's not because I'm crazy. I'm gonna knit all this up, I'm gonna pass it on and get it back as a garment. She did talk about making the boxy by Hohilokoteli, but we'll see. I kind of want a cardigan. I always want cardigans, but we'll see. I think the boxy will be great. I need something loose and warm that I can just kind of snuggle up in, which is why I've actually been thinking about doing the soiree. I just dropped the code. The soiree sweater from Pom Pom that I see a few people already are knitting, both locally here and on podcasts. And yeah, I can think of some yarn I could use for that. I just need to get some more here. Anyway, the other cone is Italian tweed, or it's called Italiensk tweed, but same thing. It is tweed. It's burgundy. It's an amazing berry colour. And it was someone contacted me on Ravelry about this because they had heard me talk about how much I wanted this cone before, and was like, it's on sale. And I'm like, it is on sale. So, and this was right after the stash episode, so I felt a bit naughty. But I know what I'm gonna make with it. I think the brick sweater. It's a very basic raglan, and I wanted a basic raglan for ages, and they're so quick to make, especially on this lovely thick kind of Aran Way tweed. It's just great. Yeah, I love it. I think I'm gonna adore that sweater. So it's just a matter of clearing the needles a bit to make time for this. I think it would be a quick one, so I might start whenever I feel like it, really. Among other things that was on sale on Garnudsalg is their lamb's wool that is for people who want to try dyeing, or people who just do dyeing. I'm one of those people that want to try dyeing, so I got this undyed skein of lamb's wool, and it's such a yarn baby. And as you can see, it's got tints of pink because I thought I'd try dyeing it with beetroot, and I did, but then I realized that what I thought was ammonia was actually soap with ammonia. And if I know anything about soap, is that soap is a base, which is the opposite of acidic. So I was like, I just messed this up. Let's just rinse it all out, do it another time. But it's got little hints of pink, which is kind of cute. But I think when I go to... Oh, that was one of my other announcements. When I go to Fibre East this weekend, I will be looking for some proper dye and just skip this whole natural dye thing and just dive into the big thing with acidic dye, acid dye, as people call them. But I just wanted to talk about this squishy skein because, okay, I went a bit mad there because it's really that squishy and soft and lovely. And I don't think it's super wash, but it still feels a bit kind of smooth. Yeah, so I think it's just probably maybe worsted spun or something, and quite plump, especially after I did the dye where it kind of bloomed more. So I just, yeah, I really love this, and whatever I end up making with it and dyeing it, I just, yeah, who knows? I don't know. I just like it, and it's just, oh, the loveliest thing. I think it's sport weight, and I think it's 200 grams, and that's about the only thing I can tell you, because the information on this yarn was a bit hard to find. Don't know if that was just me. I also got some scrap yarns, because they do that as well. They sell their yarn in these cones, so the Highland wool, they sell them in cones, sell them in those 50-gram cakes, and they also sell them in just scraps. And they're supposed to be, I want to say 20 grams or something, but I feel like these were a lot bigger and they're actually different sizes. So I got pink and a blue. I thought I was going to use them for my Flea cardigan, because at the time I was sure I wasn't going to do a Holst order. But when I put them into my, I think it was the second or third swatch, I didn't really like them. Blue wasn't blue enough, the pink was too pink. So I just happen to have these now. Don't know what to do with them, but I have them. So there's that. So eventually I did do my Holst order after all. It was inevitable, is what I'm trying to say. And one of the things that I got is a shade card. It's gonna crinkle a bit, but you know me. I love my shade cards. So this is the Tides colors, which is their silk and wool blend, and I am really intrigued by silk and wool blends lately. I think I shouldn't be getting any because I have enough yarn, but none of them are really that kind of silk and wool blend that I like. This is the kind. So it's a kind of rustic wool still, but it's blended with silk. And I think Navia's got one as well now. They're becoming more and more popular. And the silk kind of gives it this kind of almost speckled look in a way. You see these kind of white dots in the yarn, and that's a silk, and it catches dye in a different way. I think that's what makes it. And it has a lovely feel, and I want to get into silk wool more. But for now, I just got a shade card because I was good, and shade cards for me are my way of kind of controlling my yarn purchases, because if I have the shade cards, I can just do it in my own time. Just look at the colors from my own comfort of my own home. Don't have to go anywhere to look at the yarn. And yeah, so that was the thinking behind that. The rest of the yarn that I got from Holst is of course what you have seen for my Flea cardigan. It's literally all that's in here right now. I am now knitting from 2 grey skeins and 2 elderberry colour skeins, and I have used up 1 grey skein that's in the cardigan already. The other skeins I have are in this kind of scrap bag. So this bag has a bit of everything. It's got this grey and this blue, which I had a friend give to me. And she also sent me these skeins that I haven't had any use for yet. But that was a nice little combination of things that I could use. And I now just have a bunch of light yarn. So now it might be the time for the booster beanie. And I also got this shade bag. So they come with these colours. They have different shade bags, and they come with kind of 10 grams each. Haven't used the white much, so that's still intact. I used up a lot of the pink in the cardigan, and I used up so much of this slow colorway. I actually had to ask a friend of mine if she could order me another one, because she was going to make an order anyway. It is here. So this is all that I have left. So it wasn't really much that I needed, and I now happen to have this whole big thing, so I don't know what to do with that. So I'm basically left with all this yarn that I just won't be putting into the cardigan anymore or at all. So that was a stash growth we didn't need to have, but hey, oh, that's fine. I can put it into a bunch of booster beanies. Yeah, I need to do a booster beanie. I think I'm on a hat kick. I actually started a hat this morning, but I chose not to show you because it's literally just a couple of rows. I just feel like maybe now's the time for hats. I've never really been on a hat kick, at least not for the past 5 years. So mainly because my head is too big for most patterns, and whenever I try to adjust them, the hats turn too big. So they're either too small or too big. So I think I'm working around that now. Yeah. I've also got my swatches. You've seen them before. They just happen to be living in the same bag. And of course I ended up going with this colour, this swatch, instead of this one that was based more on the Garnudsalg yarn than the Holst yarn. Just the colours, the yarn is, I could almost guarantee you, the same yarn. Don't tell me anyone has said that, but I'm pretty sure it is. Now I've also had the pleasure of meeting some viewers of the podcast, and people I've been in touch with on Instagram, and just other knitters who I've met through all this, and one of them kindly gave me these skeins. Now I want to talk about this skein first because she might not even recognize this skein. And I want to thank you so much, and I said this as soon as I got this skein. I was like, I could dye this. So I have. This was undyed. It was full of lanolin and quite different from what it is right now, but still a single ply wool, a rustic yarn, very, very rustic if I may say so. And I dyed it, and I dyed it with avocado pits because I had a bunch of avocado pits in the freezer, just hoping for the right occasion to dye them with something. So in addition to this skein, I dyed these two. Both of these are fenil garn. I just couldn't be bothered to skein this. I just had this scrap and I thought, see what happens. It actually caught the dye a bit differently, but yeah, this is essentially what I have: a fenil garn and this particular skein. I forgot what it's called, so I'm just putting that here if I remember. So yeah, I am really happy with this result. It's not bad for a first dye. I guess the only problem with it is that it's not really my colour. I mean, this is totally what you can expect when using a bunch of avocado. You usually get a very light kind of peachy colour with using avocado pits and the kind of mordant that I used, but when you have a bunch you just get more colour and you get this kind of peachy brown. So I have peachy brown, and I'm still deciding what to do with them exactly. But yeah, just thought I'd show you that. Thank you so much for just giving me that yarn, and so I could have a go at dyeing. And I think we will be seeing a bit more of that, not as, you know, a professional, just as someone trying out things, because why not. And the other skein that I got, which I just love so much, it is from Ravenswood Fibre Company. It's got this little raven on the label here, which is just the best. It is amazing sock yarn, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, with a good twist, which I love. I wish I had had this skein just a little bit earlier, so I could have put this into my exploration station instead of the Madeleine Tosh yarn, which is also very nice, but a bit more on the orange side. This red is just perfect. I might get some more red socks. I just love red, and this red, it's like just this bloody ruby red, crimson almost. Just couldn't have done a better choice. So thank you so much, and I'm so sorry it's taken me ages to actually talk about this skein on the podcast, because it seems like ages ago that I was given this lovely skein. And on top of that, I was actually given some David's tea. And I had to just laugh, because that's like become a bit of a, I don't know, like a cliche that us knitting podcasters, we just sit and sip David's tea all day. And I've never tried David's tea because I live in Europe, we don't have it here, it's a Canadian tea. And now I have David's tea, so I am now a proper knitting podcaster. Yeah, thank you. Gosh, I think that was everything that she gave me. It's all a bit messed up lately, you know, things have been moved around. I had a subtenant this summer, so everything in my room was elsewhere. So yeah, just bear with me. I met a fellow knitter as well, who was visiting London. It's another Norwegian. Hello, Anna. And she was very kind and gave me a few things which I totally wasn't expecting. The other yarn, that was a swap, by the way, I gave her some as well. This was completely out of the blue, and I'm so generous, and I just want to show you, even if it's not yarn, it is just so cute. Look at that. It's this Totoro tote bag, and it's quite small, so pretty good for as a project bag. And the fabric is so soft. This is not your usual tote bag material, let me tell you that. And the motif is just adorable. So thank you so much. It is oh, it's just such a, oh, it's so pretty, and this is so delicate in this pattern. It's just, oh, it's so silky. Anyway, the other thing that I got, which is just, oh, I don't even know what to tell you. It's a Marius notebook. So again, let me just recite. This is the Marius pattern. This is what it looks like, and it's on a notebook. I believe it's lined. Yeah, it is lined. So thank you. Yeah. I apparently forgot some of what I had in my Holst order. I'm very sorry. I'm just gonna put that in here now, because yeah, my podcast, my rules. I got a pile of their cotton wool blend. This is the Coast yarn. So I got 3 navy skeins and 3 grey skeins. I don't know if you can see them through here. Shall I just take one out? Okay, this is what they look like. It's a very fine cotton wool blend. Very fine wool indeed, and the meterage is insane, which is partly what drew me to it. 350 meters in this little cake. 350. So if I hold these double, that's a sweater. So I think this is going to go into my raglan thingy thing. I might split them up and do 2 separate sweaters with some mohair or something, I don't know. Anyway, 55% lamb's wool, 45% cotton. We usually recommend the 26 stitch gauge. So I don't know, do you know how to do the calculations if you have something that says, okay, 26 stitch gauge, if you hold it double, what gauge is it then? Like, I know it depends on your needle size, but let's assume that I want to go with the kind of the average, which is 26 stitches here. How do you find out what it is if you hold the yarn double? Do you just like half the stitch count and say 13 stitch gauge? That doesn't sound right to me. I am not a mathematician, and yeah. Do let me know if you know. I'm just gonna move on. So yeah, that's another 300 grams into the stash. Another skein, which I picked up at Loop actually, because some people were destashing there, so I picked up this. So it's just a sock yarn. and the colorway wasn't really speaking to me, and I looked at it from distance like, I'm not going to take this home. And then I got it in my hands. I was like, this is a merino nylon yarn, but it looks really sturdy, and it's like been hanged and re-hanged, and it's just really been handled very roughly, and the yarn still looks pretty pristine. I know the skein doesn't, but the yarn, no fluff or halo, none of that nonsense you sometimes unfortunately get with superwash merino. This is totally intact, and so putting these on my feet actually wouldn't be such a bad idea. And I think it's self-striping. It looks pretty self-striping to me, so maybe I'm gonna try self-striping socks. Maybe I'm gonna make socks for my significant other with his very big feet. We'll see, we'll see. Anyway, got some sock yarn. That happened. And now for some of the things that I have been given again. Louise, who is Knits with Altitude on Instagram, she was making herself a knitting bag. She was just sewing it, and I saw the pattern she was using, the fabric, and I thought, I want that. I always wanted that. I want that too. Where did you get the fabric? And she's like, well, I got a bit of fabric left, so I could just sew it for you. And when I got the actual parcel and I read the card, she was like, I think she actually told me in person as well, like, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it any bigger. I used up all the fabric that I have, honest, you know, and it's huge and amazing. Look how big that is. It really couldn't have been any bigger. I don't know what I would have done if it was any bigger, so thank you, Louise. It's perfect. And can you see the motif? You've seen this before, I'm sure. Other knitting podcasters have had things made of this fabric as well. This is Old English Village pattern with a TARDIS and a Dalek and a couple of other Doctor Who things, maybe, possibly. So you get these people like sitting here, and then you get the Dalek and this little pond here, and a it's not pond, is it? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's just great, and I love Doctor Who, but I'm really behind. I'm seasons behind. But having this though, just, oh god, I'm so happy now that I can finally show you, because that means I can start using it, because I until now used it to contain all the skeins I wanted to talk about in this episode. That's about as organized as I have been. So yeah, just holding it up once more and showing you the inside. Oh my god, the inside has this amazing fabric too. So I have really been inspired to actually sew some project bags myself. Problem is I don't sew. So I have now, and I'm not going to show you each and every fabric, but I have this whole bag of fabrics that I have bought, some here and some in Norway, and yeah, so I will be sewing. I just have to actually learn how to use a sewing machine. One thing at a time, I guess. So for now I'm just going to be cuddling this bag, and it also feels very good. I think I should use some batting in it. There's a little bit of quilting going on, I think, because it's just softer than you would otherwise expect. So thank you, Louise. Thank you so much. And it was the best timing possible, because I was not having a good day on that day, and I got this in the mail and just brightened up as much as could have been that day. And it didn't just come with that bag, which I thought it did. Oh no, she put in a little skein as well. From Circus Tonic Handmade, which is an Australian dyer who is absolutely amazing, and also a lovely person who is making her own Flea cardigan, which is super cool, and I'm amazed by just her super rapid progress. And yeah, so let's look at this yarn. It's from the April 2017 club, so this is the Jubilee sock base, and the particular colorway I believe is called Tailed Emperor. It's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and has 425 meters. That's 25 meters more than usual, you know, so pretty good. And let's just have a look at the colors. It's got some kind of salmon details happening, along with the kind of grey speckling. And I've never really had this kind of sock yarn before, you know. You've seen what I knit. It's not usually this. So I am very happy now to have this. And I can totally see what I would be making, and then wearing. That's how it works. So I think maybe some Helen Stewart socks, maybe, or maybe coop knit socks. I've always wanted some coop knit socks, and the Helen Stewart socks are very nice. So Curious Handmade socks, if you weren't aware. That's what I'm thinking now. I'm actually thinking socks, so that's kind of crazy, isn't it? Non-colour work socks. Ah, who am I even? And another viewer of the podcast was also super generous and gave me something. She was basically, you know, I've been watching your podcast for ages and I want to give back. I want to give you something. What do you want? Do you want anything from Canada where I live? And I'm like, anything? I don't know. And I asked some friends of mine, what do you like from Canada? And they had just been to the Fibre Frolic in Toronto and they had told me about blue brick fibres. And turns out this particular viewer of the podcast lives in Toronto. So I now have this amazing skein from the blue brick. Sorry, that's the worst sound ever, but it sort of kind of captures how I feel about this yarn, because this is a gradient skein, so presumably it goes from this amazing brown through this kind of turquoise to this kind of pale something something. I'm not very good at describing colours, I'm afraid. This is the Killarney sock, in case I'm mispronouncing that, you can see that. Hope that focused, probably didn't. That's probably better, isn't it? So yeah. The eggshell colorway, which did kind of hint that I wanted, so thank you so much. And in addition to this, she included a skein from Plucky Knitter. This is Plucky Bellow and the colorway is called Heritage Hill. They do kind of go together, so I'm not sure if I would put them together or not, because they're also different bases and I'm a bit obsessive about bases, but I don't know, they might just be separate. This is a merino cashmere skein, so maybe just make it to something that goes around here, you know. This is where we're all a bit sensitive, so that might be where this will go. I might try to get into cowls. I feel like cowls is the next thing after my hat kick. Maybe. But yeah, I got these two and some chocolates, which are now just mysteriously gone. I saw one this morning, but now they're all gone. So, thank you. Again, one of those perfectly timed yarns for when I thought my day was going to be utterly, and it was just a little bit less. So, thank you. It feels weird talking about all this in hindsight, because if I like had just kind of, you know, someone filming me at the time, filming my reaction, you would have had something very kind of like tearful and fit. So, oh my god, thank you. And trying to redo that now when I've kind of become very attached to all the yarn I've been given. They're on the floor, so yeah, thank you so much. I hope I didn't forget anything. That you included David's tea as well. I remember, it's down in the kitchen, that's why I'm not showing you the tea. So now I have some Earl Grey from the first person who was also from Canada and the last person who now gave me robust tea. The reason why I'm not naming you guys is because I haven't asked you if I can, so I hope that's okay either way. Thank you so much for your generosity. I don't know what to say, just thank you. So I think we're now good to jump into the Norway haul, which is, I guess, kind of the biggest chunk. So this is the stuff I got after I left London. I haven't got anything since I got back. Touch wood. I'm going to the Fibre East festival this weekend, so we'll see how that goes. I collect yarn, so I'm not going to apologise. I hoard. It's fine, it's fine. So I got some shade cards. Wait, it will. No, these are the shade cards from Rauma. Look at that, it's from Rauma cards. Apparently, it's just as easy as contacting Rauma on Facebook saying, hey, I want shade cards. They give you the email to contact, and you do that and give them payment stuff, and you get shade cards in the mail. Unfortunately, the two shade cards I was looking forward to getting the most, they didn't have in stock at the time, so I'm gonna have to wait probably until Christmas. I mean, they're gonna have them back in August, but I'm not gonna be in Norway then, so I'm not sure how that's gonna pan out. But for now, we have the 4-ply Sparsøgan and 2-ply Gammelserie. They don't come in that many colours, but that's fine. They're not really supposed to. These are kind of the traditional Norwegian colour scheme. So these are very traditional yarns, so that's why they only come in these kind of natural shades with the occasional blue and red, because I guess the flag, maybe the Easter dye, I don't know. Suddenly everything is yellow here, don't know why. And we got some, is this Baby Panda, and this is kind of my merino yarn of choice, if any, commercial wise anyway. It's yeah, 100% merino, kind of a sport weight, 4-ply. Yeah, so when I say 4-ply here, this is actually a kind of a DK, I'd say. The 2-ply is more of a fingering weight or sport weight, and this is a 4-ply that is more of a sport weight to fingering weight as well. Confusing when you use 4-ply to mean weight, but plies usually refer to actual plies. So 3-ply knitting yarn has literally 3 plies, and it's a DK, maybe sport weight. I would say DK. It's what I used for my mitten kits, but not anymore, and I'll get back to that at some point. But yes, there will be mitten kits, just don't have more information on that just yet. So this is the 3-ply yarn I used before. The reason I'm not using it is because I believe Isolde is gonna have this in stock at some point. It's just a slow process, just doing one row of my yarn at the time. And this is kind of, yeah, the thicker equivalent of finer yarn in many ways. Comes in many amazing colors. Look at that nice little color there. So yeah, just showing you that briefly. And this is Lammeuld. I love this Lammeuld, and it's so nice to be able to see all these colors, because usually the local shop that did do Lammeuld only took in the pastels, and now their kind of main craft society shop in Norway, in Trondheim I should say, they do the whole range. So it's pretty good to have this now, so I can just plan here and buy there. And this is the Vams, and I have this dream about making a sweater in Vams. So it's a very chunky yarn. It's 2-ply and got 83 meters on a 50-gram skein. Gosh, I don't even know what yarn I would choose. Maybe I'll do a red one. I don't know. I just want to make a sweater in Vams. It's just so nice. So yeah, putting that aside from now. It's a dream. It's a dream that I have, and I was really struggling not to buy a Vams for a sweater. It's also known as Vamsegarn or PT3, so you'll find it labeled as either. It's part of the merging process between PT and Rauma, I think. So this is PT5, and it's called Sport. Usually if a yarn is called Sport in Norway, it means it comes with nylon, because you're supposed to do socks with them. So this is kind of a, I guess it is a sport weight. It's got 128 meters, so it could be a light DK as well. Look at that. Those colors up here, they are just, oh, it's good. I really want to make, I showed you in my book episode this tunic I always wanted to make in this yarn, but I would probably crop it so it wouldn't be a tunic, but I could still make it, right? Anyway, at last, PT2. So I didn't get female yarn, but I got, oh my god, these are a bit mashed up, aren't they? So I got my PT2 shade card anyway, even though I didn't get female yarn. I have that, so I just need to complete the series by getting the female yarn shade card once that is available, and I am sorted. So you can see some of the crazy yarns that I used for my mittens here, and some of the more muted ones up here. Yeah, pretty cool to have. So yeah, my shade card hoarding has not ended just yet, and probably won't anytime soon. Now, I've already told you in this episode about the pashmina yarn that I'm making the bonbon mitts by Holst Italian. What I haven't told you is kind of the circumstance, well, I did maybe tell you the circumstance how I got them. So Marius, who is hosting a knitting meetup in Trondheim, gave them to me, and that was not all that she gave me. Oh no. She also gave me this skein. They actually sell this at Loop. Jarol, it's a British skein of an iron weight yarn, I think. So yeah, thank you so much, Madden. That was really nice of you. She just basically figured I would like this yarn more than she does, because I like them rustic and crunchy. So this is definitely going to a good home. Thank you so much. And it turns out Madden dyes her own yarn, and I just remember her yarn from this knitting cafe knit night thingy, where she and 2 other dyers had the yarns on display. So one was Kate Fredriksen, one was Maren, and the other was Tante Ull. Now Maren's yarn kind of made me think of sorbet and ice cream, and just you just want to eat the yarn. Whereas Kate's yarn, there were just so many colors. I didn't get any of her yarns, but yeah, it was just an array of colors. And lastly, you had Tante Ull, which I will definitely get back to, but Maren so kindly gave me one of her skeins. So I now am the proud owner of my first gold stellina skein, or silver stellina. I don't know the difference. It's a stellina sock yarn. So it's got like some speckles here and there, and it's got a little here as well. So I now have that, so thank you so much, Madden. And if you want to check out her yarns, I have linked to her Etsy shop in the notes. She's Marnie's on Etsy. It's pretty cool that these Norwegian dyers actually use Etsy, because sometimes it's a bit of a barrier for Norwegian indie whatever to sell their stuff abroad, because different postal systems, not part of the EU, all those things can make things a bit difficult with import and export. But for them to be on Etsy is really helpful for them, I think. So it's just really cool that that is up there. So I don't know if this yarn is that representative of what she normally does. She did some really like what I can best describe as sorbet colors. So yeah, just check it out there. Check out her Instagram and you'll get an idea of the colors that she has. I'm gonna put this away now. Yeah, I think that was all she gave me. She gave me quite a bit. It was just this huge parcel and I was not expecting that at all. It was super, super nice. So thank you so much. And now, as for Tante Ull. She has an amazing colour sense. Her real name is actually Marianne. And I was looking at skeins for the longest time. I was like, I'm not going to buy the yarn here. I was not going to buy yarn here. But oh, look at that yarn. So I kept looking at these and I was like, I love this. And is this a 100% high twist merino? And it says can be felted. So in my book that means non-superwash, right? This is a logo, by the way, in case you were wondering. And her website, we should have a look at that as well, shouldn't we? Gosh, the light is not on my side today. She also had this in a BFL nylon, which is a base that's quite common among dyers in the UK actually. So I was looking at these and I'm like, they kind of go together, but they're different bases. I'm like, but I did end up buying both. So they can be friends, but they don't have to be, because Marianne so kindly offered to dye up this colorway on this yarn. Even though she hadn't even saved the recipe for this, she just kind of played around with it. And she did that in time for me when I was leaving Norway. So I actually bought the other skein of hers on the day I was supposed to be traveling, although obviously there were issues with the flights, so I didn't end up traveling. But we have another partner, so I ended up actually splurging quite a bit on her yarn, because look at that. Look at that. It's just incredible. So I don't think this is going to be part of whatever this is going to be. It might, but I don't think so. These could easily become, shall we say, a shawl together, maybe. I just want to make more shawls in non-superwash. So if this truly is superwash, which it does feel like, that will make me very happy. And I just think these colors are super cool. They are both within and outside my comfort zone all at once, with a little blip of turquoise here. It's yeah, a good mix. And I guess we have some more socks to make, don't we? It's a nylon yarn, so I feel like that's what it should be. So Tante Ull, guys, I mean, if there's one Norwegian dyer that certainly deserves more attention, it will be her. So just go check out her yarn on Etsy, and if it's not in stock now, I mean, it will be. And she's got Instagram, so just, yeah, check that out. That's all I can say. And I've paid for all three of these. This is not like one of those, I always try to make that as clear as possible when I have been given something and when I've paid for something. This is something I've paid for, and I'm recommending it to you because I think it's great. And I think, you know, it's just so cool to see Norwegian dyes popping up more and more. There's so many of them now, and I have a bunch of them on my wish list. Oh my god. I mean, just to name drop a few, I am really eager for Arctic Yarns, fellow podcaster Emilia, to start dyeing some more Norwegian yarns. And I was then made aware of Verbit, who now has opened a shop in Oslo, which I'm dying to go to, and I want all of her yarns, and it just pains me that it just exists and I don't have any of it. And then there is Tweedy Todd. I don't even know what to say about Tweedy Todd, to be honest. Just go to her Instagram and you'll see. Oh my god. And then there's Lille Dille, which I've been getting a lot of endorsement on the Einkop Tetak podcast, which is a Norwegian language podcast, and it's great, and that yarn is gorgeous. So Verbit, Lille Dille, and the others I mentioned, Tweedy Todd and Arctic Yarns, way up on my wish list. But I'm very happy that I have at least some yarn from Norwegian dyers, and also the Marnie's yarn that's on the floor now. It's nice to be able to support both local dyers and Norwegian craft and yarn and all that goodness. So I did some more purchases. I did. We all know I did, let's be real. I obviously bought this pile of yarn that we have covered earlier. This is mostly Hillesvåg and a couple of others. This is the Sparso bag, old Sparso garn that I showed you last time. And there is of course the Stuff of Steel yarn that I've showed you earlier. The kind of really fine wool that I'm gonna do my Eleanor jumper in for the Hipster Cal that Jacqueline of Brooklyn Knitfall podcast is gonna host. We'll get back to that, I'm sure. And there is some yarn that I'm going to give away for friends of mine, just to be clear. And then I bought this yarn because now, and this actually was really unexpected and super cool, one of the kind of I guess I don't know how you translate that, in the Norwegian Craft Society shop in Trondheim, so that's Husfriden, contacted me on Instagram, told me how much she liked the podcast, and that they are now gonna kind of ditch some of the Norwegian yarns that they have that are Norwegian brands but they're not actually Norwegian yarn, in favor of actually Norwegian yarns. So obviously they're keeping all the Rauma and PT yarns, and they're also gonna do Hillesvåg. So that is so freaking cool, because I've been kind of nervous about Hillesvåg yarn not being sold in Trondheim anymore because of the shop that was shut down in May. But now they are doing Selje, and I got in there the day that I thought I was going to leave Trondheim. I picked up 3. I do kind of regret not getting 5, so I could just make a garment, but I think so. 3 of these Selje. So Selje is a pelsull garn. Can we just get focus? No, okay, it's fine. Pelsull garn, that's a particular breed of sheep, which is kind of, it's just, oh, it's so, oh, I love it. I know a lot of people will not find this soft, but I do. Yeah, I got 3. And the plan is for this to actually replace, excuse me, this yarn, the black yarn in this shawl. So I was gonna make this, and I said I was gonna rip this out, and I will. I just haven't. This is the Lovely Leaf shawl by Sticky Lisa, and I'm still determined to make it. I just don't know if I'm actually going to do the black and red anymore. Maybe I will. I think maybe red and grey is perhaps more up my alley now. I don't know. So I think I'll have a look at that, consider that. And then these other 2, what I'm thinking right now is doing this shawl on the front cover of the first edition of Garn, the Norwegian, I guess, equivalent of pom-pom. Can I say that without sounding like I'm accusing them of rip-off? I do not. They kind of have a different angle. There's a lot more baby knits and children's knits in here that might not be quite up my alley, but that's certainly their focus, because a lot of knitters in Norway do knit for their little ones. So I think doing this shawl, because it's a half pie shawl, and wouldn't that be great? So that's that. So I can do, instead of using the gradient for the stripes there, that is by Nina Petrina, the designer and yarn dyer, I might just alternate the red and the black that I end up not using in the shawl and having this as the main color. That's the plan for now. We'll see if I end up doing it or not. I just really want to have this as a shawl because I just love hugging this yarn, even if it is a bit, you know, it's not, I'm alright with it. Some people might find this scratchy. I just find it kind of soothing. I'm odd this way, let's be real. Not the most representative. I have been hardened by knitting a lot of rustic yarn over the winter. It just happened over the winter, and I found myself, you know, I was squishing some of the Loppa yarn that some local shops here in London have, and I used to hate that yarn, and now I'm like, I want to make it Icelandic sweaters with this yarn. And I did actually hand over some of the yarn by Istrex to my boyfriend when we were in Norway, and just asked him his opinion if I made a sweater for him in that yarn, and he approved. So it's so cool having a boyfriend who is not yarn sensitive. It's just the best. Okay, so I promise we only have 4 skeins left to cover, and this is ridiculous. I'm saving the best for last, but this is pretty good too. So I had been doing all my Norwegian yarn shopping. I thought I was going to leave for London that day. Obviously the flight stuff happened, but I was ready, I packed, you know, we're gonna leave in the evening. Mom was coming home from work, and I texted her and was like, would you mind stopping by this yarn shop that I was at today? Because I'm having some serious restraint regret about this particular yarn. So the enabling initially happened by Marianne of Tante Ull, who told me that I should totally check out Nøstebarn. And I was like, yeah, I know about that shop, but it translates to Skein children, because it's for baby knits and children's knits, and you can buy a lot of ready knit stuff there, and they do some yarn. And I always thought, I just don't care, you know, merino for kids, I think that's a bit ridiculous. I have misjudged this shop. They do amazing yarn, and never mind it's merino, it's rustic merino. So mum got me 2 skeins. I mean, I had to pay for them. I'm even telling you when I have to pay for it and mum has to pay for it. I'm being this honest with you guys. I think it's important when you do a podcast where you may or may not be endorsed by giving stuff for free or not. So just so you know, mum bought this. I bought this, mum bought it for me, and I paid for it. That's what I'm trying to say. And this skein, each skein has 600 meters. It's a 100-gram skein, 2 of them. Can be the Belmont cardigan. And I know you're saying, Ellie, you have the Highland wool from Isager for that. And you're also going to use that for the Eleanor jumper. You're not doing that anymore. I know, I don't know what I'm going to do with the Isager yarn now, but I'll be using it for something. But this is totally going to be Belmont, a red Belmont. And that's always what I wanted, really. So, yeah. And a Belmont that weighs 200 grams? Yes, please. So, it's a 2-ply yarn. It's completely non-superwash. It is a merino. It doesn't say where it's sourced. I'm assuming not Norwegian, because we don't really do merino in Norway. Nøstebarn is a shop that you can find in the major cities in Norway. They specialize in baby knits and children's knits, but they have amazing yarn, and this is great, and I am so excited to be knitting with it and having a bright red light cardigan. And yeah, so that's that. I'm just gushing over this. I'm so happy I managed to get it, because otherwise I don't think I'll be able to rest until Christmas, the next time I'm going to be in Norway, if not sooner. I hope sooner. And I was like going to sleep thinking about this yarn and waking up thinking about this yarn, so I knew I had to tell my mom, just, can you get me this yarn? So yeah. And now for last, I have been given the most amazing thing ever, which was handed over to me in person actually by Tina, who was visiting from Australia. And Tina just happens to know Hannah of Circus Tonic Handmade. And Hannah, I don't even know where this began, but she had, for some reason, decided after the kindness and goodness of her heart to dye me some yarn. Like, the only thing I'd asked Tina was like, maybe she could bring me some of Circus Tonic Handmade yarns so that I would pay for, you know. It was just like to avoid shipping stuff. And I don't know what to say. I hope you guys have all stuck through this episode despite all the yarn bombardment, which I'm sure you don't hate, to see this, because I'm so excited to show you. Look at that. And the best thing, it's called a Norwegian in London. I got my own colorway. I have never, ever, this doesn't happen to me. And the base, it's like a 70% superwash merino, 20% silk and 10% cashmere. And you know, you heard about, I talked about earlier this episode about my kind of apprehensiveness about cashmere merino stuff, but the addition of silk, I think, is what makes this a thing of wonders, because it makes everything kind of fall into place and become halo-free yarn that is just super everything. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, probably a shawl, let's be real. I want to be very careful about this yarn still, even though it seems like the silk gives it a lot of strength, I guess. Sheen, certainly. The base is just so luxurious, I can't even tell you. And the fact that it's just a colorway based on the yarn preferences, the kind of color preferences I've been ranting about on this podcast for ages, like, I don't even know what to say there. Other than that, I mean, 400 meters per skein, so you can do an 800 meter shawl out of this. I'm just waiting for the right pattern to come my way. Maybe another curacao, maybe. Can I just hold up this, like, I don't have anything else to talk about in this episode, so I'm just holding this up, giving you a well epic close-up. So There's so much yarn. There's so much yarn here on the floor, on my bed, in the bags. I don't have more space in my shelf. I've got boxes of yarn on the floor. I need more yarn shelves, I think, is the conclusion here. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me during my break. Thank you for being so incredibly all the good things when I came back, and just being welcoming and lovely, and for the lovely words for my podcast from the cabin. That was really nice. I'm gonna put together a Norway vlog as well, which may be up by the time this episode is up, and it might be up after. Regardless, it's not gonna be a knitting video, it's just a random Norwegian stuff video, and hopefully I can vlog from Fibre and I will be back with a normal episode regardless. So I will see you, and until then I hope you are well, and yeah, bye.